This is Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak, and I'm joined by Ralph Sharega down in Florida. Ray Clifford is making his way home. He'll be on shortly as we just witnessed another debacle as the Jets got shut out by the Miami Dolphins 30 to nothing. And just a couple of things, I'm going to have some comments from Ralph. But because of what happened today, the Jets are out of the playoffs. I don't know what the scenarios were, but I heard them announce it on the Jets post-game show. I guess Cleveland came back to win. Joe Flacco lit it up again. And I don't know what other team. Who was Chicago playing? Was it the Titans? I'm not sure. I think.
Chicago was playing Cleveland, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Cleveland won. But
I
whatever.
really wanted Chicago to win that
Yeah.
game.
Whatever it is. But anyway, the Jets are out of it. This is the 8th straight losing season. This is the 13th straight season that they're not in the playoffs. And I just want to go into this game. And I got to tell you, the offensive line, they cannot run block, they cannot pass block, and they can't communicate. I know that they've had a litany of injuries. I know that the offensive line, this is like I don't know, 13th or 14th different or 8th or 9th different starting offensive line. I understand all that, and I'll be honest with you, I was switching from the Jet game to the Giant game. I was so bored. And the Giants lost. They were awful. And their quarterbacks got sacked 7 times. Their offensive line is beat up like the Jets, but at least they gave some resistance. The New York Jets offensive line gave zero resistance for 4 quarters, which is embarrassing. And I'll say this, we spoke about him. I would fire their offensive line coach, Keith Carter, Monday morning. There's absolutely no reason to keep this guy on the team. You need some sort of fresh voice to do something because everything went wrong. Mekhi Becton, he can't block, he can't run block, he can't pass block. Lakeland Tomlinson, he was another awful free agent signing. The guy I was hoping on, Jake Hansen, who was awful. Even Tippmann didn't have a good game. They were just pathetic. And the reason I'm staying on that is because that set the tone, I believe, for the whole darn game, including the defense, which, unlike what DJ Reed said at the beginning of the year, they're not the 85 Browns defense. And they have a number of things wrong also. But and the one thing I just want to add too, our coaching staff, you have to make adjustments on both sides of the ball. When I see a guy like Waddle cleaning up, and it's obvious that DJ Reed can't cover him one-on-one, you got to make changes. The best player in their team wasn't even playing. And then this quarterback, he starts out, I guess he was 12 for 12. So I'm just fed up. I'm beside myself. And full disclosure, I told Ralph, I told Ray, if I didn't do this podcast, I love doing it, and I appreciate all the fans. I don't know if I would have watched the whole game. It was just so unwatchable after like 5 minutes. It was an embarrassment, a total embarrassment. And this team is going to be in the abyss for a long time because this Aaron Rodgers is holding them hostage, like I've been saying every week. And the one thing I'll say about Aaron Rodgers, how bad it is when the games are so bad, the announcers don't know what to talk about with the Jets. It all turns to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers this, Aaron Rodgers that. And I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of this Aaron Rodgers situation. I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of hearing Robert Saleh starting to sound like Rich Kotite in every press conference. And then I'm seeing Jets around the league that are doing well. I mean, I have to see in the Giant game, Demario Davis, who looks like Dick Butkus. He's all over the field. The guy must be like 36 years old.
The only player in the league he's not as good as is Blake Cashman.
Yeah, that's right. Ralph, I am just You have no idea how upset I am. And you know, it's funny because we were talking, and it's something that Ralph said when we were talking about different winning and losing scenarios. And Ralph said, I'm tired of wasting 3.5 hours on a Sunday. And that's exactly how I feel. I'm sick and tired of wasting my Sundays watching this so-called professional football team. It's just, they're unwatchable. They're boring. They have no foundation. And now Zach Wilson, it's officially does have a concussion. I think Zach Wilson has taken his last snap as a Jet. It's just a pathetic situation. Everyone is hanging their hats on this guy that meditates in a cave and speaks to dolphins. I say clean house. I say get rid of the coaching staff, get rid of the general managers. Tell Aaron Rodgers it's not working out. We're going to go a different direction. Bite the bullet. We're going to be killed with the cap. But, you know, sometimes you're going to go further to the bottom before you can start climbing out. I know I've said this probably every year for the last 13 years. I am just so sick of this, Ralph. So let me have your comments now.
Well, let me just ask you one thing, Marty. How do you feel about this Jet team? No, it's embarrassing. I think the Jets have become a sitcom that need to be canceled. My friend Matt Lewis pointed out that in the first quarter, the Jets had -3 yards of offense, which means that Tyreek Hill, who didn't dress, outgained the Jets in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't get any worse. You can't point the whole blame at the Aaron Rodgers hostage thing. The Jets are a mess from top to bottom. I agree with you. They should cut the cord with Rodgers. They won't though, and they should get rid of this whole administration, the whole coaching staff, and start from scratch. I agree with that totally. It's probably not going to happen, but I can say proudly that I left the sports bar with 10 minutes left in the game, and I have a feeling I didn't miss a whole lot. Actually, it was the strip sack. Mekhi Becton, that guy should be a defensive lineman because he knows every way to get to the quarterback. He's like he has gone from being a joke because of injuries to being just a horrible football player. I don't know if it's because his knees or his legs are shot or he doesn't care anymore. But any team that pays money for this guy, good luck to them.
He's now become, Ralph, one of our historical horrible first-round picks. And again, full disclosure, you know I didn't want him. I wanted Tristan Wirfs. I said it at the time. But still, he showed something his rookie season. But now he can't run block. He can't pass block. He goes off sides at the most inopportune times. The guy's just a waste. He's just they go right around him. And, Zach Wilson, listen, again, Zach Wilson, I've been on since day one. Even though on some plays he went backwards, today was not his fault. If you watch, his first 4 passes were great passes. Even the one to Tyler Conklin was a catchable pass. He could have had that. I even thought that pass to Xavier Gibson, should have been caught. It was a hard catch, but you got to make those catches. We see all these receivers, other teams, making great catches, but except for Garrett Wilson once in a while, we don't catch the ball.
I know you talk about Garrett Wilson and his incredible body control and his like Gumby-like way he twists around. Boy, the Jet quarterback sure tests that on every throw at this guy. This poor guy is like hung out to dry on every play. I mean, he makes these catches contorting his body and he gets destroyed. And he's just a slight guy. He did make some nice passes, but and most of it is the offensive line's fault. But he doesn't pre-snap read. Tony Romo, who annoys me on many levels, but he does know how to read pre-snaps, and he's pointing stuff out. Like the right side is like overloaded, and they never make any adjustments. I know it's a communication thing, it's a coaching thing, but it's also a quarterback thing. It's it's a team effort, this disaster, I have to say.
Yeah, and it's funny, Ralph, because my son Michael Schupak, huge Jet fan. He loves Tony Romo. So you know what he said to me about 4 weeks ago? He goes, Dad, I listened to Tony Romo. Why wasn't he a better quarterback? It sounds like he calls the plays before it happens. I said, yeah, it's when you're in the booth, it's one thing. When you're on the field, it's something else.
You know, but he's right. Tony Romo was a good quarterback. He wasn't a great quarterback,
No,
but
he was good.
he was good.
I think
But
that was his strength, though, reading the field,
yeah.
his ability.
Oh, look who's here. You can call me
Oh,
Ray. Yeah.
Ray, how are
You
you
missed all the
doing?
fireworks, Ray. We've been
oh,
praising
what
the
a
Jets.
joyous time. That was such a fun event.
I don't know if you have a cat on the table or your
I do.
mustache is growing. No, but Ray,
You
first
see-
of all, not to give it a plug, and by the way, before we do that, I have to do one shout out. Brian from Jersey City, he lives like 3 or 4 doors down from my son Michael. Brian, I wish I was doing a shout out under better circumstances. Huge Jet fan forever. He was a season ticket holder. So, Brian, hopefully you're listening. But, Ray, what is the name of the bar you go to? Is it actually in Columbus proper?
It's on the north side of Columbus, probably a little outside. They have like a loop that goes around they call it 270, which inside of that would probably be Columbus proper. We're just outside of that. It's called Knockouts Pub and Grill. It's not a new place, but it's under new management over the last year or so. So they were called something else before, but they've been around for this place as it is has been around a little over a year. But it's a nice little pub. It's got plenty of TV. It's definitely sports related. It's got plenty of
How
TVs.
many Jet
Uh,
fans show up every week?
well, in the good days, we get about between 20 and 25 is usually the top right now. We're growing though. We're getting different people this year. It's just that when you're this when you're
Yeah.
this pathetic at times, it's hard to keep people coming.
Now,
It was
I'm just asking you a question because you have a good story. Ray's a little ill prepared for the watching what we just watched, and I'll tell you why. But one last question, and you get into the story about what happened today at the bar. But are most of the people like transplanters from the East, or are they just
most of them are. Yeah.
okay? All right. Now,
I mean, almost all of us have some connection to New York. Most of them have a connection to the city, or at least the Long Island area, that down that way.
right,
I'm one of the few that's like upstate, up around the middle of the state.
right. Okay. Now, tell the story of what happened today during the Jet Dolphin game and why you're ill prepared for the first time ever in 12 years doing this podcast.
Well, I could have actually sat at home and watched the game today. It was on because the Steelers and the Bengals played yesterday, so the Browns were the only local team on on the national front. They would have had it on CBS. They had the Browns on Fox. CBS, this company called Tenga, I think it's called, is the one that distributes for CBS, that has the rights to CBS, the contract. Well, they're in a fight with pretty much everybody, Dish,
Right,
DirecTV,
okay.
everybody. So
Yep.
can't watch it. So I go down to the bar and it's on there. They're using Paramount Plus, I believe, or some other platform.
And it's the second quarter, right?
And when I get down there, it's the second quarter.
Right,
And it's already 10-0, pretty quickly 17-0 by the time I get there.
right.
In the third quarter, they drive down, make it 27-0, and shortly thereafter, they go off. They've switched to the Packers and Tampa Bay. So I'm like, and they're like, we're okay. We're on Paramount Plus. It's not part of the DirecTV and that we're fine. They're at commercial break. Comes back, Tampa Bay and Green Bay. It isn't
So,
on any platform other than New York, that area where you are and probably the Miami area. They didn't subject anybody else in the country to the rest of that game.
right. So in essence, what we're saying is for a Jets bar in Columbus, Ohio, that has Jet games every week, and I don't know how they work it out. The game was so horrible, they actually took it off at the Jet bar. which in retrospect was probably one of the smartest common sense moves ever made.
Oh,
The
yeah.
only thing is you couldn't see the game. Were people
Couldn't see
upset
anything.
first?
Uh,
That
no, by the time they did it, it was 27-0. So it's hard to say anybody was really mad. They're like, oh, I can't believe it. But at the same time, they're like, well, it makes sense.
all right.
I will say, and as far as the game goes, I got to see one very telling statistic, which was right around the middle of the third quarter, probably. And you can tell me if it changed at all, but they threw this graphic up on there that said plays in the opponent's uh, in the opponent's
side of the field. Yeah,
side of the
they
field.
had 0.
In other words, over 50, and it was 23 for Miami and 0 for the Jets. And
Right.
I wondered did we ever make it across
Yeah,
midfield?
yeah, they got a they got across. Trevor
Okay.
Simeon started showing off his arm.
Okay.
Probably
Good.
some penalties. I don't remember.
All right, let me read some of the. I can't go through the whole thing. Just some of the notes. I wrote in first quarter. Becton was abysmal. I said on the third down pass play, I thought Gibson should have caught that play. I don't know why the announcers said that it was tipped. They showed in slow motion. It wasn't an easy catch, but I thought he should have had it. I put also Miami, and I know Ray didn't see the first quarter. Every pass at the beginning was a quick pass at the line of scrimmage. Did you notice that, Ralph?
Yeah, they make quick decisions, and
Quick,
something that
quick
Jets
decisions.
quarterbacks don't know how to do.
No, and it's set up right. I put the fake punt to me is a coaching staff that's pressing and panicking. It was the wrong.
Yeah, there was like
time.
6 yards to go on that, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that one really shocked me.
Right. I put that. I thought before he went out in the few passes he took, I thought Zach was right on target. But the thing with Zach is when he gets spooked, he just loses it. And I think that's part of what happened. But he didn't have a chance at all. And Ray, you came on a little late. I'm calling for the offensive line coach Keith Carter to be fired. And I'm just saying is they can't run block, they can't pass block, and they don't communicate. And they don't have any resistance at all. It's like they hike the ball and there's no line. And I told Ralph, Ray, that I watched a little of the Giant game and their quarterbacks were sacked 7 times, but at least they had some sort of resistance and they had like something of a ground game. I mean, just so you know, the Giants had 60 yards on the ground, which is not great, but it's something. But the Jets aren't doing anything right. In the second quarter, I made a note that Tua started out 9 for 9, and then it was like 12 for 12. And I think I wrote a note to Ralph. I said, Ralph, who's winning the field position game today? Because it was just ridiculous. Every time they had the ball, they had a short field. It was awful. I put also in the second quarter, Tony Adams had to have the worst penalty I ever saw in my life.
And I think he got a concussion from it.
It's like these teams were almost in the locker room, and he goes and hits the guy. I never saw anything like that in my life. Ralph,
Are you the one right at the end of the half, or
I think it was
we got the roughing?
Yeah.
Well, he actually hit him helmet to helmet if you look at it closely, and the play was over. And
right,
he's the one that ended up going in the blue tent.
Yeah. Which was if you did, and Ralph called us Mr. Bubble Wrap. Was how they treated him like he was Ronnie Lott in the preseason. Oh, he can't play so good. He's had some good plays, but he's been a disappointment. I also put, guys, can we have anyone that can hold on to an interception? Quincy Williams, it was right in his hands. Right in his hands. And at first they said, oh, that was a tough play. Then they slow it down.
Yeah.
What do they want?
It's tough about it. It hit him in the hands and he dropped it. Even he was mad at himself. I mean, he knew he should have had it. There's no doubt.
Well, you know, this Alan Lazard thing is just spread to the defense, I guess.
Very contagious.
Hey, he had a nice catch, Ralph.
He did. He actually caught one.
What a ball. I also made a note that at the end of the quarter, actually, I wanted when I still thought we had an outside shot of making it a game, I wanted Salo to call timeout, and he did. And actually, I think Romo mentioned that too. And after that, I quit taking notes a little bit. In the third quarter, I took notes that it was 3rd and 18 for Miami, and they ended up going for it on 4th down. They got the first down. You can't make this stuff up. As good as our defense is, they can't make some big stops.
They had him tackled after about 10 yards and then let him push him another,
Yeah, you know, that whole push thing is getting ridiculous.
It is.
I mean, it's a joke. I mean, they don't blow the whistle and they just get more offensive linemen keep coming and pushing. It's like, what is it? It's a different, it's not
this is not rugby, and that's what we're turning into. This is not.
I'm betting that they're going to change that rule.
They are, Ralph. They said they're going to review it. They're definitely they're going to do away with it for next year. There's going to be a number of things they're going to do away with,
including the Jets.
Ray, you won't be happy. There was an article this week. I should have sent it to you that they're going to do away with the hip drop tackle. Whatever.
Yeah, I saw that before, and it's kind of like the horse collar, only using your whole body, basically, is what they're saying. It's this is all about. It's not about safety. It's about money. Let's face it. They want to protect their assets, so they don't want these high dollar players getting hurt. And so money's the problem. It ruins everything in the end. So
yeah, we'll see what happens, but it turned out, Ralph, at one point, I guess the third quarter, the Jets' best offense was 2 penalties on 3rd down.
I saw them. They were
illegal.
One of them was actually a ticky-tack. The second one probably shouldn't have been called either. The first one was legit.
Right. Ray, you came on late. The Jets are officially out of the playoffs because of what happened today.
Kidding. Oh my God.
Okay,
hey,
so
you're gonna hurt his feelings. Come on.
13,
nothing to watch now.
Yeah, 13.
Hey, I do want to make a
comment
about your thing on the offensive line coach, which I'm not saying that's a bad move, but if you've got a different offensive line every week, it's hard to coach them up, because a lot of being a good offensive line is you work together, you communicate, you know how the other guy does his stuff. Each guy knows their role, and they know how the other guy handles things. And when you're changing guys all the time, I don't know any coach that would make this offensive line look good. Now, is there somebody who could have made them a little bit better? Yeah, possibly, probably. I don't know. I don't know enough about this guy, but we've got to get guys who can stay on the field, and we got to get guys who are, have some talent.
Right. I don't remember the year it was, but it was a number of years ago. The Jets were up in Seattle, and the big thing was the Seattle wasn't starting one
single guy.
starting offensive line. Do you remember when that was?
I do. It was the same game when Sean Ellis got the fine for throwing the big snowball into the stands.
It's like they started 5 guys off the street, and they still whipped the heck out of the Jets.
0 sacks, I believe, that day.
So how does that happen? And then with the Jets, we can't make excuses for this guy. Again, the Giants got whipped today, but their offensive line, they gave some resistance.
I know.
The Jets.
But I think a little bit of it was we played well last week against Houston, and I think we all thought that meant something going forward. And the reality was, Houston's defense is not Miami's defense. They are, they're head and shoulders over where Houston is, both on the defensive line and the defensive backfield. And they showed that a couple times with some pass defenses that were outstanding when they got there and knocked the ball. Right. This was a huge step up, and
Phillips was injured.
Thinking maybe we'd do a little better with this wide open offense that we showed the week before. But if you're not giving Zach time to do anything, I don't know why we expect that he's going to.
They had nothing, and Ray, again, you came on late. I said to Ralph, he has an official concussion.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it for him and his Jet career, to be honest with you.
Here's a question. Who starts next week?
Well, it's going to have to be Trevor Siemian. I mean, and Ratliff.
Rodgers was cleared to play.
He's not going to play. Rodgers.
Well, I wouldn't play him, but
Rodgers, he's not going to play on this offensive line. And I don't see how a doctor's going to clear him. And I'm just so sick of hearing and talking about it. It's just ridiculous. And he gets more camera time than Bob Kraft. Did you notice that, Ralph?
Well, I got to tell you, who else are you going to put the camera on this Jet team? Really?
he
I
gets
don't want to see
time
Salah
than-
anymore. Maybe Rob Calabrese. There's a guy who's doing a good job.
There's no accountability for anything here.
He gets
So-
more camera time than Taylor Swift, which is saying a lot.
That's true. He does. He does. I wish they'd clean house. I really do. I just, and again, we've talked about this numerous times. In the middle of the year, the Steelers, they let go of their offensive coordinator. The Buffalo Bills let go of their offensive coordinator. And, we're stuck with the same garbage.
I think the Bills made a step up with Joe
Brady.
Brady, but the Steelers are pathetic. I mean,
Yeah,
they
okay.
were worse. So I'm
But
not sure
They'll
it's
still end up
good
with a
thing.
winning record, though. Watch.
But they made a change,
Yeah,
Ray.
might.
Okay. And I'll tell you, what our offensive line reminds me of? You guys ever see
Swiss cheese.
Yeah, well, almost. You ever see the beginning of like a college or high school game when the cheerleaders are holding the big paper thing pulled out, and the first guy runs through, and that's exactly what our offensive line looks, that big paper mache, whatever it is. Within this, the only thing is we don't have a design. It's just incredible. So I think we're going to close this out. Any more?
Thank God.
Because we're going to do a preview show. I'm going to beg and plead for Ralph Schrager to hang on for the next 3 weeks. And
By a fingernail right now. It's like
I know.
you ever saw the movie Saboteur by Hitchcock, and they're holding onto this guy's sleeve?
Remember that, and the sleeves fall.
Statue of Liberty, and it's like fraying at the end.
Yeah,
Who do we have next week? The Commanders?
I think it's the Commanders on Christmas Eve.
A definite game that they could actually maybe stay in for about 2 quarters,
Jets fans, I would either eat 2 hours before the game or 6 hours after the game if you're having a Christmas Eve dinner. It just is just beyond belief. It's amazing how it changed from 1 week to the next too. Ray, as you go over the defense, I shouted out in the middle of your talk that also remember they were missing Phillips on the defense, who's a heck of a player too. Remember, he told Phillies.
Yeah.
Really good. So anything else you guys want to add before we shut this down?
I'm
not sure there's much you can add to this.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to be on the air somehow. I'm going to fans and audience. I'm going to convince these two guys to stay true. They do bleed green. We will be on the air towards the end of the week, probably on Friday or could even be Thursday. So for Ralph Schrager, for Ray Clifford, Marty Schupak, remember Christmas season, help out, anyone that needs canned goods and all that stuff. And we'll be on at the end of the week. Until next time.